Welcome back to Wreaths of an Apple. My name is Stacy and I am here for Vlogmas Day 5. I can't believe we're already 5 days in. How quickly time goes. So, without further ado, let's kind of just get into it. I have been doing my 24 days of tea from Adagio Teas. This is my 4th year doing their tea advent calendar. The first year I did their bagged version, and then I switched to their loose leaf version, and now this is all I'll ever do. So let's pull out today's tea. So we've got number 5. I'm super excited. Okay. Oop. If it'll come out here. Oh my gosh, it's stuck. Okay. Ooh. Rooibos pecan turtle. Interesting. So I do have a spreadsheet for 2020 and 2021. I did not keep a spreadsheet the first year I did it, so I'm just going to glance through real quick and see if this was in the previous 2 years. Rooibos Nutcracker, Rooibos Novella, Pecan Turtle. Okay, so this one was used last year for day 8. And then last year, I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. So I wonder if it will kind of be the same as a middle ground tea. But I'll read what's in it. So steeping, it suggests 5 minutes at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And it has rooibos tea, apple pieces, cocoa nibs, cinnamon, dark chocolate chips, chicory, pecan flavor, caramel flavor, chocolate flavor, marigold flowers. And this has no caffeine. So I will pop it open here. It smells interesting. You definitely get the sweetness from the caramel, and it does have that chocolatey hint. And then you do kind of get like the rooibos coming through, and this, oh my gosh, let me just pour it all over the place. I can't believe I just did that. Okay, so, but that's what it looks like. Rooibos is usually a smaller tea, so the bigger chunks that you see in there are the dried flowers and the cocoa nibs and the dried apple pieces, but almost everything in this is super small. So I will get this going here. Today's mug, I am doing my zebra mug, and I got this from, you can probably guess, Big Lots. I've had this mug for years, and zebra is my favorite wild animal, so of course when I saw it, I had to get it. And then this infuser I'm using today is this little mesh basket, and it has a rubber duck top. This was a gift from my boss for Christmas a couple years ago, but it's super cute because when it steeps, the rubber duck like floats, and then it comes with this cute little water holder for afterwards. And it should hold, even though this looks little, this should hold all of the tea in these packets, especially since I poured a chunk of it all over my socks. Okay, so I'm excited. I'm excited to see how much, and so there we go. It's only about half full. I don't know if you can tell, but alrighty. Let me get my little ducky on here and get this steeping. And then I will show you. See, isn't it so cute? I am a rubber duck fan, so it's just so cute. Okay, so while that is doing its thing, let's talk about the book that I read. And I did start it today, and I did finish it also today. This is about, I want to say 120-ish pages, 115 pages. And I picked up The Christmas Dragon's Mate by Zoe Chant. This is the first book in her Christmas Valley Shifters series. I have not read this series before. I mean, obviously it's book one. I did used to read a few years ago. I was very much into the Insta Lust, Insta Love, novella, short novel, like 200-page-ish shifter fated mates romances, and I went through a phase, and then I just kind of I got over it and I wanted more long-term books and more longer and just in-depth books with fated mate situations. So I kind of moved away from that, but it was fun to kind of go back to that style of paranormal romance. So I gave this 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but I had some issues with pacing, and there was quite a few. I mean, technically they were steamy scenes. Some of them were a little more glossed over and others were in depth, but I just didn't feel the tension or the connection or like the chemistry between them. So I just kind of ended up like skimming through those parts just because it wasn't really interesting to me. But anyway, so this is Dara and Henrik, and Dara is a bookkeeper. Her mom has recently remarried and moved with her new husband to Europe, and her best friend has gotten married and moved across the country, so she's feeling very alone for Christmas. So she decides that she wants to do all the things that she always wanted as a child for Christmas, and she has all these ideas in her mind, basically a Hallmark movie. She wants to go to like a little hotel B&B and drink eggnog at night and chat with other people who are there visiting and do all the little small town Christmassy things. And it's she keeps talking about how she's a city girl and she's going up to the mountains, and how, the guide guaranteed there'd be snow. And I guess if you're going up high enough, there's always some sort of snow on the ground because it's just so cold up there that it just never goes away. But I don't know. I thought it was weird. And she kept talking about how the guide said this and the guy said that. And she's going up hills in the snow, and she's never driven in the snow, and she's making silly choices. And it was very interesting. And then she gets out of her car in a blizzard and somehow manages to make her way up to this. She finds like a sign that's kind of a little bit dilapidated, and it talks about the ice castle. And so she goes up and she finds the Christmas village, or Christmas Valley is the name of this little town. And instead of, touching base in the town, finding a hotel or whatever, she decides she'll do that later and go up the mountain and visit the ice castle. Goes up there, gets out of her car. It's snowing, and I mean, she's talking about how cold she is. Oh yeah, I'll zip up my parka. And this is the first time I've had to buy a winter coat, kind of a thing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this girl. So she is definitely TSTL at times, or I don't know, or just like super naive. It kind of turned me off a lot. But her shifter mate, as you can tell from the title, is a ice dragon shifter. He comes across her while she's like freezing to death outside of his home, and recognizes she is his mate, and he takes her home and he gets her warm and he's trying to take care of her, and they feel this connection, and then they're doing it like at 20%, but it was kind of glossed over-ish. It was like we got through the foreplay and then it was kind of glossed over and fade to black-ish. I don't know. It was interesting. And Not necessarily in a good way, but I mean, I gave it 3 stars, so I at least I at least didn't regret picking this up, which may sound harsh, but I mean, it was fine, but it was just kind of weird the way that the pacing of their relationship was, because then his uncle comes to visit and there's been hits that he's harboring some guilt and some deep dark hurt, and he was out flying as a young kid, and updrifts or something like that kind of got him stuck as a young dragon, and he couldn't get out of a situation because his wings weren't strong enough. So his parents came out to save him, and for some reason they didn't turn into dragons to go rescue him, and they ended up getting in a car crash and dying, so he's blamed himself. And there's a magical gem. And so, like, the dragon parts, like, mythos and the way that the dragons worked is what really kind of intrigued me. So when a dragon finds a gem that speaks to them, they craft it and they give it its form and they kind of polish the gem up, and it becomes their dragon heartstone, and it becomes a focus for all of their power, and they should always have it close to them just to kind of help keep their dragon strong. But after this happened, he thinks his dragon is too strong. His dragon has too strong of a will and will take over and cause more people around him to be injured because he can't control his dragon. And so he decides to, like, bury his heartstone in the center of his hoard in, like, track behind ice. So he really struggles to shift, and he doesn't have all of his dragon powers. But anyway, so his uncle comes and shows up, and this is spoilers, but his uncle causes a rift between them, and he plays on Henrik's guilt, and we learn that he's been doing it since his parents died. And then when he is alone with Dara, he is basically treating her like she's a gold digger, and she's only there, and she's not really his mate, and she's only there to get his money, and basically kind of manipulates them so they end up breaking up with each other. And then she makes some silly decisions, and she goes down to the village, and she stays in the village, and then they both are, like, super sad and mopey, and then he comes down to the village to talk to her, and then they get back together, and then his uncle kidnaps her, and he was a bad guy, and he mixed dragonbane with ecstasy and gave it to his parents, and that's why they couldn't shift into their dragon form to save him. And then he's the one that kind of finagled them running off the cliff or something. So it was all just like, this book was 115 pages, and there was just so much, and it didn't flow well, and I don't know, it just was weird. And she was like, even though she knew shifters existed, because we find out that her best friend that got married and moved across the country is married to a shifter, but her husband is a golden retriever shifter, which I don't know how I feel about that. And I guess, like, her friend throws fetch for him all the time, and he plays with kids all the time, and I'm just like, I don't, like, I understand that, like, people have, like, golden retriever type images and personalities, but for a person to actually shift into a golden retriever, I don't know, that's kind of weird. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. I don't know. But so I enjoyed, like, the kind of mythos behind the dragons, and I'm intrigued to learn more about her other dragons, but I don't know when. I think I'll wait until I'm in, like, this type of situation when I'm looking for this type of paranormal romance. I might look at picking up the next book, which is supposed to be about a red fire dragon. But yeah, so, and one thing I also did like is in the blurb, it's kind of emphasized that she is a curvier heroine. It's not plus size, but curvy. So I think she's more like normal sized instead of skinny. But I liked that there was really I mean, there was a couple times where when we're in Henrik's POV, he's appreciating her curves and her womanness, but it's not like a thing. There's no she never has any doubts. She never has any insecurities that's touched on. He never says anything like overly in your face about how he enjoys a curvier woman or anything. It's more just like when they're getting jiggy with it, he's just like, oh, you're so gorgeous, I love your curves. And it's very in the moment and doesn't feel, I don't know, like pandery or anything, but I don't know if that's quite the right word for it. But so there were elements of this I did enjoy. So hence the 3 stars, but it definitely either could have been pared down for the type of novella that it is. But yeah, so there is that. Let me take my little ducky out here and then we will taste the tea. What's one interesting thing about rooibos is because it is so thin, especially mixed with chicory, it doesn't really grow like a lot of teas. Like when it like rehydrates, it doesn't suddenly take up a bunch of space. So smaller infusers like this are perfect because they have the fine mesh to kind of keep from getting too much sediment in your cup, but it also, like, you don't need all that extra space for a tea to grow. So let's see. I mean, it smells pretty much the same exact way steeped. I think maybe the chocolate is a touch more prominent. Yeah, I think it's still probably about a 3 out of 5 like I gave it last year, but I'm doing it a 10 this year for some reason, so I'm going to go with, I guess, 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. It's very middle of the road for me. It's fine. I will drink it and it tastes okay. I don't hate it or anything, but it's just not my preferred flavor profile. And it is slightly bitter and almost incensey to me, and that might be like the chicory in there, and I don't know, and this sounds weird, but like when you smell incense and sometimes you can taste it, and it's more of like the sandalwood patchouli ones, it kind of tastes how those taste when I smell them, but they don't taste how they smell. It has a different kind of taste than how they smell. And I don't know if I'm just completely like, all of you watching this are just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. You are crazy, but this does have a touch of, and I think also that pecan is giving it that slightly nutty flavor as well. I just don't get as much of, like, it smells a little bit chocolatey, but I don't really, there's just a tiny little bit of sweetness, and I just kind of expect when a tea is turtle pecan or pecan turtle or whatever it is, that there be more sweetness that comes through without needing to add sweetness to it, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm gonna go 5 out of 10. It's fine. It's fine. It's not my favorite. It's my least favorite so far. But I will say, only one tea has ever not been middle of the road and less than that before, and it was some weird whiskey tea that was last year, and that's the only one where I couldn't even drink the full thing. And I enjoy odd teas. Like, I have had a gunpowder green tea from Adagio before, and that sounds super weird, and it does. It smells like gunpowder, but it tastes so interesting, and like I wouldn't be like, "Oh, it's amazing," but like I bought a bag of it because it's just such a unique flavor that like I like it and I enjoy it. I wouldn't say it's like an amazing tea, but I enjoy it for the uniqueness of that flavor. And so if you're looking for like unique teas, definitely to check out Adagio. And if you're looking for something super strange but that tastes good, definitely look at their gunpowder green teas because I enjoy those. But I also like green tea, so just throwing that out there. But I think that's all I have for you today. So I am already like 70 something percent through the novella for tomorrow because I was reading during the Avalanche game, which there was another injured player, and McKinnon got injured, and now we are down to all of our top 6 forwards are injured except for Rantanen. Because we lost Lehkonen the previous game, and we lost McKinnon in today's game, and Newhook took a puck off the face, and he had like this gash, and then you could see like the rubber burn marks from the puck on it, and it was just like so horrendous, but he stayed in the game. And then we lost Manson the previous game, and I'm just like, the Avs have gotten injury bugs before, and I've heard people talk about, they're not playing so hot right now, and that's happened in the past where there's been a lot of injuries, but they've still managed to play through it and play decently. But I gotta say, this is a whole other ball game, and the injuries have never been to this extent before. I mean, we have enough for almost an entire team at this point. There are only maybe 4 or 5 players left on the roster who started the season on the roster. And then the 2 goalies, like, we just got to get through it. But let me tell you what, I'm not too super worried because, and this has nothing to do with Vlogmas, but I'm just going to go off since we're here. I'm not like worried because once these guys come back, the team is still great. But I am cognizant of the fact that a lot of these players are AHL players. And if we were to have injuries come end of the season, come playoffs, that they will have not just a game here or there, but like a good chunk of NHL, like big boy hockey games. And so they're playing long enough because a lot of these injuries are drastic enough that they're week to week, month to month. I mean, they say day to day, but it's been several, like a week or whatever. But they're getting multiple games in a row to really kind of get their NHL flow and that NHL experience. And I feel like it has more of an impact on their style of play when they can play 4 or 5 games in a row in the lineups, kind of working through how it goes, playing game to game to game to game, versus a game in November, a game in January, 2 games in February, a game in March. Like, I feel like they're going to get really good experience to help kind of increase their hockey IQ. So yeah, I mean, I have high hopes for the Avs, and they're defending the cup this year, and I hope they get back-to-back win, but we'll see what happens. It's still not even New Year's yet, so we're nowhere near close to the trade deadline, although it's coming up quicker than expected, so we'll just see. But I'm not throwing in the towel yet. I'm just tired of all these injuries and people leaving in the middle of the game, and we don't see them come back, and then we don't hear for a day or two on what their status is, and then surprise, we won't see them probably for a while. So it'd be nice if someone was just like, yeah, I'm gonna sit out 1 or 2 games to kind of repair whatever tweak happened, and then I'll be back. But Alright, I'm gonna stop blabbering at you. Thank you so much for watching this and continuing to watch my Vlogmas stuff. And I will see you all, oh, I guess like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you all tomorrow.